Good afternoon, everyone. It is Saturday, March the 21st, 2020. It is currently 1:27 p.m. Central Time, and I'm coming to you live from Victory Baptist Church. I'm here at the back of the sanctuary, an empty building, trying to prepare for tomorrow. Now, I have a lot of things to share right here and a lot of struggles, and I'm still trying to process this myself. And so I hope you have a little bit of patience. You give me a little bit of grace, maybe to kind of stumble through this. I don't really have this all figured out yet, and I want you to kind of hear that. I want you to hear my struggle. I want you to hear me trying to figure it out, because I feel right now that there are churches all across the United States of America where there are pastors sitting somewhere. Maybe they're in their office at their church. Maybe they're at home. Maybe they're sitting in the sanctuary like I am, just going, what's going to happen? What do we do? Now, we all know that currently, you and I, we are living in the midst of a global pandemic. The coronavirus, COVID-19, this virus has spread around the globe. People are dying, and states here in the United States of America, countries, states, cities, countries, all are coming up with different ideas on how to stop this. And one of the ways they're doing it is they're calling for social distancing, and in many places, a complete lockdown, telling people to stay home and don't leave their home unless they're going to get food or medicine. Other than that, don't leave. Businesses are being shut down. People in some places are being told to shelter in place. Many states, most states, have issued some kind of restriction on gatherings. You cannot gather, 10 or more people. That you cannot do that. 20 or more people cannot do that. 50 or more. Each state and city has different restrictions and different rules. But for the most part, they're saying, hey, no gatherings. Don't come together unless you absolutely have to, like to go to the grocery store to get medicine. And even there, keep your distance from people, all right? Because we have to stop this virus from spreading. Now, if you look at what's happening economically, this is devastating. There are people losing their jobs. Businesses are losing money. There is a serious concern here. And obviously, the only way to get businesses open again is to get this to win against this virus. And the only way to win against this virus, is considering a vaccine is probably a year out, is to stop it from spreading. And the way you stop it from spreading is, people aren't near each other. And then the virus is in one person. Once it's run its course, there's nowhere for it to go. It can't get near anyone. It can't get to another person. Therefore, it cannot be spread. Therefore, ultimately, you basically win against the spread of the virus. The quicker that happens, the quicker businesses can reopen, schools can reopen, and everything in life can return to normal. But you have to then pass these absolutely what many call crazy rules. Crazy rules. No gatherings. Stop. Stay at home. And some people don't like that. They believe that's crazy. They believe basically we're one step away from martial law, that we're being imprisoned in our homes. This is the government taking too much control, that this is all hype, and that there's no real threat, or if there is a threat, it's minimal, and we should not, stop all of this. However, the virus continues to spread. So whether you agree with those rules or disagree with those rules, that's the reality we live in. We live here right now in 2020. We live in a time of a global pandemic, and our lives are being turned upside down. So everyone's trying to figure this out. Businesses are trying to figure this out. Colleges and universities are trying to figure this out. High schools are trying to figure this out. Elementary schools, everyone. This is not just a church problem. This is everyone's problem. And everyone's trying to figure it out. And there's lots of disagreement. There's lots of disagreement on what should or shouldn't be done. And we just have to realize there's going to be disagreement. Now, you consider all of this happening, and then you consider church. Churches all across the United States of America and around the world are not, now there's going to be some who are going to not even go with an order given by the government. They're going to refuse to go along with it. But many have canceled all services, right? You're not going to come to church in the traditional way, pulling up in the parking lot, walking through the front door, and sitting down in a pew. What's going to happen is that churches are going to live stream their services. Now, there's even disagreement on this. Some believe you should not live stream your service. You should not. And the reason, if you live stream your service, they are concerned it's going to create in the minds of many people, well, then I don't even need to come to church. Just live stream all the time and I'll stay at home. And many believe that this is detrimental to the church, detrimental to the future of the church. Many go so far to say that the reason you should not live stream is because, well, that's not even church, so therefore you're not really live streaming church and you should not do so. Now, it's interesting because live streaming church services has been going on for forever, all the way back to my early days on sermon audio. Now, their system of live streaming was a little bit more convoluted and complicated than it's become today. But back then, if you're on sermon audio, you could look at any given time, there was a church somewhere live streaming. All right. I don't even know if it was just, I don't even know if they even referred to it as live streaming. It was just broadcast live. I think it was broadcast live or something. And so it's been going on forever, and it didn't really become a point of great contention or a point of great controversy, just like people posting their sermons online. Now, it's been weird. I've seen some churches that post their sermons online, but they say they're not going to live stream tomorrow because live streaming tomorrow is not really church. I'm like, well, then why do you post your sermons online? So it's really weird. This stuff has been going on for a long time, and it's never really been controversial. But now that it's happening during a global pandemic, now there's all of this, wait, you're canceling your services. You're not godly. You're not right. You're not holy. Wait, you're having a service? Wait, you're not godly. You're not holy. You don't care about the health of people. So you have the fighting of whether we should or shouldn't have church. And now we have the fight on whether you should live stream or shouldn't live stream. And now we have a fight. If we do live stream, what do we call it? I have an article here in front of me saying, please, and this article, I'm not saying that this article is all wrong because I think they make some very good points, but I just want you to see how there's so many disagreements in what to do. In fact, this is what they say. An urgent plea, they don't say please, an urgent plea to not call your live stream service church tomorrow. So an urgent plea, do not call your live stream service tomorrow church. Don't do it. Don't call it church. It's not church. It's just a live streamed sermon. It's not church. Now, again, some of these issues, I mean, these things have been going on for a long time. We were live streaming, way before there was we were live streaming before this whole global pandemic thing became the issue that it is today. Now, we are still recent in the live streaming department because we couldn't get internet out here. If we could have gotten internet probably sooner, we probably would have thought about it sooner, but we couldn't because we're in the middle of nowhere. But we've been posting sermons online since 2001. 2001. We were early on. I mean, we were one of the only churches out, especially, I think we're still the only church in this immediate area out here in the middle of nowhere that even post our sermons online. So we've been doing that forever. And it was never like, wait, you're destroying the church or you're telling people not to come to church and please note how it works. If I can't speak for all churches, but we would always try to get our sermons posted. Typically Sunday morning would be posted Sunday afternoon. I mean, literally, from the time I got home, I would post it Sunday evening from the time I got home. So they've always been posted in close proximity to the church service. So even if someone, quote unquote, was tempted to stay at home, they could hear the sermons, by 1 p.m., they could hear Sunday school and Sunday morning. And by 7:30 or 8 p.m., they're listening to Sunday evening. So I don't know how if we don't live stream, then we're not tempting people to stop coming to church. But if we live stream, we tempt people to come to church. Well, then why it's It's just weird. I think some of now it's good. Now, let me make this very clear. It's good to raise these questions. It is perfectly good and right to raise these questions because we have to try to figure out what is right and what is wrong during this time, what we should do and what we should not do. So I'm going to read this article and we're going to allow them to kind of drive the conversation here. This is from Pulpit and Pen. I don't agree. I don't. There's a lot of things they say I agree with. A lot of things I say that I sometimes not so sure about. But that's true of everything. So I'm not going to get into all of that. The issue is we're going to look at what they have to say about this particular subject, and we'll try to figure it out. But let me just throw out some initial thoughts. First, okay, this is so important. Pastors are in a difficult situation today, all right? This is not, listen, I don't think there's any pastor right now. I know this is to be the case because I know many pastors right now are worried about money. Hey, if the church doesn't meet, giving is going to at least decrease just from a practical standpoint, it's going to decrease. And how are we going to keep the doors open and salaries and all that? So there's pastors already with some great concern. So they're already worried about money. But I can guarantee you there's no pastor, maybe just money motivation or any other, or they may have all kinds of motivations. But I can tell you there's no pastor right now going, hey, this is a wonderful thing. No one's going to show up church tomorrow and we're going to live stream. This is the preferred method. This is great. This is awesome. This is wonderful. There is no pastor doing that. There's no pastor doing that. All right. Now, yes, there are pastors who I'm a little bit perplexed and confused by their thinking on this, but I will not say that there's pastors right now going, yes, this is what we want to do. Every pastor right now is shaking their head going, man, just from a pure logistical, practical perspective of how does this work? I'm going to walk into an empty building tomorrow, put on a wireless mic, stand behind a pulpit and say, take your Bibles and turn to the book of Romans. Now, the good thing for me is I've been doing podcast and talking in empty rooms since 2002. And so I'm very good at doing that. But I'm telling you, even for us podcasters who talk, empty room, turn on a mic, talk. It's like talk. Even for me, it's going to be as depressing and as discouraging and feel like complete and utter defeat come tomorrow. When I stand up to teach on a Sunday and no one is here, and when I am done, it's really going to hit me Sunday night. It's just something about the night, and Wednesday night, same way. It's just going to be like, it's just going to feel so depressing. It's going to feel like that the church is done, that the church is finished, that the church is closed, that the church is over. It's going to really feel like utter defeat. It's going to really feel like the church is collapsing, and it's going to feel like that I'm wasting my time. And then for the pastors who then go home and look at the numbers and go, wait a minute, we have 400 people in this church and 35 people tuned into the live stream. That would be devastating. That would be like being punched in the face, hit across the head with a baseball bat. Church members may not get that, but for the pastor, so I prepared, I came up there, I taught, and the church couldn't even bother to tune in when they're supposed to be sitting at home anyway. Yeah, this has the potential for a great amount of frustration and discouragement. So there's no pastor right now going, man, can't wait till tomorrow when I get up to the church and there's no one there. I can't wait. So no one wants this. No one wants this. And so we can't accuse people of wanting or doing this because they're just, they want to do this. I don't know how to put it other than saying there's no pastor out there who wants to do this. So don't, when they cancel a service, don't accuse them of being ungodly and caving because they're going even against probably what they want to do. Churches that are canceling are doing so because they feel like we've got to stop the spread of this virus. And the last thing I want is for my church to be responsible for spreading it not only to each other, but then they spread it to other people. I don't want to be at the center of it. Look at what happened in South Korea. That religious group, crazy as they are, they were majorly responsible for the spread of the spread of the coronavirus. In fact, there was talk of bringing charges against that church, murder charges against them. The church doesn't want to be caught up in some situation like that. Hey, no, coronavirus wasn't going really, was pretty much under control. But, throw in the name of the church, First Baptist Church of whatever town, first whatever church in whatever town. Well, they kept meeting, and then they ended up spreading it to each other, and then they spread it to other people in the community, and they're the source of it. You don't want your church to be in the news for that. All right. So I can understand why churches are canceling. Whether you agree or disagree, I can understand it. But the main thing is, whether you agree or disagree, understand it's not what the pastor wants. It's not what the pastor wants. And others, I think, are gravely concerned about what are the long-term consequences of not having church. What are the long-term consequences spiritually? What is the long-term consequences financially? I think there are many pastors who are concerned, and they're like, I'm having church. And I think others are concerned about the idea of government telling us when we cannot meet. So there's legitimate concerns, there's legitimate issues, and church members, you just have to understand, pastors are trying to figure this out. And there's no easy answer. But let's listen at what this article says. Their issue is, if you don't have church and you live stream, don't call it church. Now, I don't know if that really should be the issue right here, but it's probably one of many that at some point should be considered. I think there's lots of other things that people are trying to figure out. But let's listen to their argumentation and let's see what we can learn from this. All right. This is what they say. We don't all see eye to eye on church cancellations tomorrow. Amen. We don't. We are told by a government that lets Planned Parenthood stay open that to be good citizens, our churches must close. Now, I don't like that whole argumentation. Look, yes, abortion has been going on for a very long time. It continues year after year after year. It continues whether there's a Democrat in office, whether there's a Republican in office, whether there's a Republican-controlled Congress or Senate, whether there's a Democrat. It continues on. It continues on. So, yes, the government that lets Planned Parenthood stay open, they got to let it stay open considering abortion is legal in the United States of America. All right, but whatever. I don't agree with abortion, obviously, and believe it's murder. But, sometimes we like to throw, no matter what you discuss, right? It's like you say anything like, well, abortion is legal. You say, well, I think we should try to work on stopping drinking and driving. Why are you worried about drinking and driving? Abortion kills more people every year. Okay, I think maybe we should talk about gun violence. Wait, you're going to worry about gun violence? Abortion kills more people. I think we should talk about heart disease. What? You're going to worry about heart disease? Abortion kills. And it's like every time you bring up any subject, you have to be abortion. Okay, abortion is wrong. But we're talking about this right now. Can we not talk about, hey, we have a global pandemic. A virus is going around killing people. They're calling for us to close things down for public health. Oh, but abortion. Can we talk about abortion after we're done dealing with the coronavirus? Can we? In fact, if everyone has to stay home, maybe that will slow abortions down. So maybe it's a positive thing. But it's just, I hate that's just such a lot. There's so many logical fallacies when people do that. So yes, the government that allows Planned Parenthood to stay open because abortion is currently legal, right? That government is telling us to stay home for public health reasons. Yes, it's that government. So I don't know, but okay, that's fine. It's a common thing. They're doing what a lot of Christians do. So all right, but not all churches are canceling services because they are willing. All right, but not all churches are canceling services because they are willing to render unto Caesar that which belongs to God. All right, so all right. We could talk about that, fine. Some are personally convicted that canceling services is wise and prudent, and that being wise and prudent is more important than the Lord's Day assembly. Now, I don't know if that's fair. If I'm canceling, I'm not canceling because I think it's more important than the Lord's Day assembly. I think the Lord's Day assembly is of great importance because of scriptural mandate and because of church history telling us that's what Christians have done. I'm not saying it's more important. When you start assigning more, this either or mindset, here's the thing. We're in the middle of a global pandemic, and the only way to stop the virus from spreading is for people to stop meeting in large groups and social distancing, unless you come up with a vaccine to give immunity to it. Other than that, that's the only way for it to work. It's not about, I think public health is more important than assembling. That's not fair. Putting in an either or. I believe the assembly of the body of believers is of utmost importance. Okay, but I also understand public health needs and necessity, and I also understand not putting people at risk and all the other things I've mentioned. It's just not fair to state it this way. Or are you going to render under Caesar what belongs to God? Or come on. Everyone's trying our best to figure this out. Right? But okay. I agree with the premise that not everyone agrees, and there's lots of different arguments in both ways. All right. Obviously, I disagree. At the same time, this is the author writing, obviously I disagree. At the same time, we've raised more than $3,000 and given away another $2,000 from our reserves to send nearly 100 webcams to churches in need. Now, I'm a little perplexed. How could there be a church in need who can't come up with how to live stream, and they need donations for a webcam? I'm a little perplexed. If there's a church in need, hello? Okay. My church is in the middle of nowhere and we're very small. Okay. What? Like, I don't know. I think most churches should be able to come up with a plan to at least do a live stream. And why does it have to be a webcam? Why? Why does it have to be a webcam? You can audio live stream. It's easy to set up. Right? I mean, why have a webcam where you're going to have one fixed camera? I guess it's just pointing to the stage. And, I don't know. To me, it just looks like it's just easier to just, I don't know. There'll probably be some spiritual argument. Well, if the people don't see it, then it doesn't feel like church. Okay, we'll still get into that issue. But the point is I think everyone should be able to pull that off. But okay. That's good that they're helping churches in need who need a webcam. All right, that's okay. It's just kind of bizarre that there's churches in need in 2020 on how to get on the internet. I'm just having a hard time wrapping my mind around that concept. Okay, but okay. All right, since we've been online since 2001, okay, it's hard for me. And we were a little church in the middle of nowhere, Texas. So, all right, that's okay. But that's good that they're helping. I'm not trying to mock that they're helping. It's just kind of weird that there's churches out there who are our desperate need is a webcam, right? Despite our disagreement on treating coronavirus like the Black Plague itself, we understand the health concerns, and no matter how grossly inflated they are, again, making these assumptions, they're grossly inflated. All right. Now, please note, what I love is when non-medical people tell the medical world, hey, these concerns are grossly inflated. I love when non-medical people speak for the medical professionals. I love when they speak for the World Health Organization. They speak for the Center of Disease Control. They speak for hospitals and doctors. Now, could there be some exaggeration or making the situation worse than it is by maybe some in the media, by some talk show host? Yeah, there's always that possibility. But I think the medical community is pretty much made it pretty clear that they are gravely concerned. They are worried. There is concern that the healthcare system could be could just be overrun and begin to collapse. So I think there's some serious concerns. But all right, they do say they should still be treated seriously. Okay, we agree on that. I just don't like to say something is grossly inflated when I'm not an expert in said field. I'm not an expert in the field of global pandemics. I'm not, by no means am I an expert. I worked, and part of my military job was some of these issues, but I would not even classify myself as an expert on them. But okay. They go on. Churches with a disproportionate number of stubborn old people, for example, might need to make a judgment call that's unfortunate. I don't, that's kind of weird. A disproportionate number of stubborn old people? Couldn't you have a disproportionate number of stubborn young people? Couldn't you just have a disproportionate number of people, a disproportionate number of stubborn people of all ages? It's kind of weird. I guess they're saying that the old people who are stubborn, who are supposedly, some say, are at greater risk. They're starting to kind of back that down and trying to say that younger people may be at the same level of risk. So again, when you have non-medical people talking about some of these kinds of things, all right. I think, look, would you have stubborn people? I think there are people that if you have church are going to show up. Some will just show up to try to prove how spiritual they are. Some will try to show up just to try to say the man's not going to tell me what to do, right? So some will show up just for that. Others would stay away. I don't know. Okay, fine. I agree with this. There are a lot of issues to consider when dealing with this whole how the church should conduct itself. And I agree that there is very little agreement on what to do. All right. The way some of this is written, I don't know. But all right. Here we go. But please, this is the author speaking, but please hear me out on this, even if you disagree with closing churches in a time of cultural desperation. Okay, so please, even if you disagree with closing churches, listen to this. For the love of all that is good and pure, please do not refer to your live stream tomorrow as online church. Please do not tell your church members that it will be just like going to church, but in your pajamas. Please do not tell your church members that they will be doing church in their homes. Not only are these promises lies, but they will damage your church. They will damage your church. Now that's an interesting perspective. What should we call what we're going to be doing tomorrow? Live streaming my sermon. All right. Now, the reason we're focusing on the sermon and we're not doing anything else is because we see the sermon as the centerpiece of worship, that worship is hearing from God in his word and then responding to that word and how we apply it. So I'm not going to, call someone up here and try to put the mic over there by the piano and, have someone play or bring someone up here to lead us in songs. I'm not going to do that or try to, come up with some music solution. I'm not going to do that. Many churches are going to have the music part and the sermon part. And maybe it'll work. But what the images I have seen, where people have shown videos when their churches are live streaming, it's just them sitting on the couch watching a bunch of people sing. So then it's like watching a concert. It's like watching a performance or listening to a performance. Well, that's not really worship. I guess some may sing along. You could do like a hymn sing along and say, hey, take hymns to everyone. I don't know. I think trying to do the music portion just seems odd to me. It just seems like you're just going to have people just sitting there just kind of like watching some people sing or watching some people perform. And then that's performance. That's not even really worship. I don't know. But so do we call it? I mean, here's the thing. If we call it church, if we make these kind of little jokes, hey, good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm here at church and you're at home on the couch in your pajamas. If we make that kind of joke, are we doing some, irreparable damage, irreversible damage to the church? Is this a matter of semantics, semantics, if I can say it right? How you speak, is it just a matter of a term? Hey, we're going to have church tomorrow. No, we're not. No, don't call it church. Don't call it church. Don't call it church. Okay, we're live streaming tomorrow. Okay, you can call it a live stream. Just don't say you're live streaming church. Hey, we're having church. Don't welcome everyone to church. Is it doing some kind of damage? Now, let me make this very clear. I don't know if I agree that calling it church is going to do damage. I think there is great danger. I've already stated this before. There is great danger in this entire situation. Here's the danger. Let's say this goes 4 weeks. Let's say 4 weeks. You watch the numbers, and I challenge all pastors, watch the number of your live streams. Watch how many people are listening to your live streams. You know how many people are in your church. First week, people tune in because it's novel. It's kind of a cool idea. Maybe the second week. After that, you watch those numbers plummet. Just drop off the face of the earth. Or they start tuning into other churches. Okay. And they're going to make this argument here. They're going to tune into someone better, someone who has especially if they're watching video, those mega churches, they're going to have multi-camera angles. They're going to have a good praise band. Yeah. I mean, the little small church, boom, they can't compete with all of that. Probably on-screen graphics. Woo, they're going to go all in. Okay. So, I think there is a great potential of danger, and I do believe that there is a potential that many will just kind of be like, well, they're going to get used to not going to church, and once they get used to not going, your church attendance you'll have to struggle to get your church attendance back to what it was averaging on a regular basis. So I do agree that there is concern here. I don't know if calling it church is the issue. I think the issue is there's just a built-in danger with this situation. You cancel church for any prolonged period of time, there is some danger involved. So I don't know if calling this, I don't know if it's just a matter of terms, but okay. All right. They call they call them promises. So if you're telling them that they're doing church in their home, that we're having church, they say that these promises are lies. You're lying to the people, but they will do damage to your church. All right. They continue. And I'm going to have to just speed up and read a lot of this and not interrupt as much. We, that is the Christian church, already suffers from a malady of church pseudo-Christians who only occasionally fill our pews whenever it is convenient to them. Oh, yes, we do have that problem in Christianity today. I'm going to show up when it's convenient. And if it's not convenient, if it's going to cause me, my kids can't get to bed on time, or I have to drive, we already have a major problem with Christians today, only showing up when it's convenient to them. And they go on, and these churchy pseudo-Christians are staying home already to watch the Stephen Furtick live stream, deadening their conscience to the command of God to not forsake the assembling of ourselves together. Hebrews 10:25. They do this under the misconception that watching that ranting lunatic is church for them. Now, to be fair, I don't know why they're bringing up Stephen Furtick here and going to attack Stephen Furtick. There's lots of reasons to attack Stephen Furtick. Calling him a lunatic, I don't think is necessarily what you need to do here. The argument they're trying to make is this. Hey, staying home isn't church. And we have a problem with too many Christians already staying home. And I do agree that there is a great tendency that if they stay home, they're going to probably there's a tendency to tune into the live streams that are done better, more professionally, look better, sound better, and obviously someone like Stephen Furtick, his live stream is going to be 1,000,000 times better than the average small church live stream with one little, webcam posted somewhere near the pulpit and the whole thing looks weird and the lighting is all off and the sound is horrible. Yeah. It's going to look bizarre. That's why I think if you can't make a live video stream look decent, do an audio live stream. You should be able to pull that off with reasonable low cost. Right? But again, they go off and attack Stephen Furtick. I don't agree with Stephen Furtick's methods. I don't agree with his theology. I wouldn't agree with anything in his church, but there's a time and place to attack. Here, the issue is, hey guys, it's not church. Don't make it about Stephen Furtick. The issue is it's about what is church. And I think bringing Stephen Furtick in there is not really helpful, but okay. I agree. We should not forsake the assembly of ourselves together. Now, I know that's primarily has something to do with the historical context of Hebrews 10 and them meeting closer and closer together as the day of 70 AD was fast approaching. But okay, there's clearly some application there. We should not forsake the assembly of ourselves together. Now, here's the issue. If everyone is actually tuning in to the live stream, is that an assembly? Does that count or does it not count? They argue it doesn't count. Here is what they go on to say, but what if they weren't watching Furtick or any one of the many TBN charlatans who explicitly sheep poach by intentionally building online campuses to keep people out of church and instead glued to their blue screen? What if they were watching our beloved John MacArthur or Alistair Begg or reruns of Adrian Rogers? Would their misconception that watching services on the computer screen is church be any less tragic if they were watching decent preachers than if they were watching Furtick have bodily convulsion sequence to preaching chords? I would suspect that MacArthur, Begg, and the late Rogers would consider it tragic enough either way. Now, again, you can say Alistair Begg and MacArthur would consider it tragic, but let's make this very clear. Alistair Begg and MacArthur have been posting sermons online forever. In fact, way before the internet, you could subscribe for money, to MacArthur's tape ministry, and then it was like a subscription service, and then each week you would get a tape of the sermon that was preached the week behind. So there's ministries have been posting their stuff online forever. So was that wrong? There were plenty of people who were not going to church and simply using tapes and before there was even the internet, and then using the internet sermons for their church. Many people have stopped going to church to do some kind of home church, and they use all kinds of different materials. So is the issue? Hey, if you live stream and call it church, you're doing horrible damage. Well, haven't all this kind of stuff been going on for? I'm just confused, like why it's such an issue now. All of these ministries have been putting their stuff online forever. Churches have been live streaming services for since the internet. Okay, well, maybe not since the internet, but once audio, the ability to stream audio became more and more accessible and easier to do, churches have been doing it. Wait, forget the internet. Forget it. I didn't even think about this. Forget the internet. Local churches here have been showing their services on television since before there was an internet. There's always a church or two in town that would broadcast their services live on television. So it was happening even before there. Went back with Sky Angel, the Christian satellite television network. They had, on Sunday they would be filled with live services from different churches. So I don't know. I believe there's a danger with what's happening in the global pandemic, but I believe these issues have always been present. You're going to have those who look for every excuse to stay home, and they will. But wait a minute, why do we post our sermons and messages online? To reach anyone and everyone, no matter where their spiritual state is, to call them to repentance and faith, and to build them up and to disciple them and teach them right theology. Nobody is saying abandon the local congregation, but people abandon local congregations for all kinds of reasons. So it is kind of an interesting, this kind of stuff, I don't know. I don't know. Would their misconception that watching services on the computer screen is church? Well, again, like even before there was a blue screen, people have been doing it. Let me read it here again. The state of the visible church is such that it is quickly melting into an invisible church. Thanks to charlatans who already encourage people to join their church remotely, pay tithes on their Seed Faith app, and sing along to Hillsong karaoke, people have been gradually fading away from the pews. There's no question people are fading away from the pews. There is no question. Church attendance, I just in my life as a pastor, there was a time people would not miss services. They would be there no matter what. Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday, Sunday school, and now, man, our Wednesday service is a joke compared to what it used to be. All right? So that is happening. There's no question about it. Right? The internet church is more conducive to a churchy pseudo-Christian lifestyle anyway. Furtick's stage prancing image doesn't know if you're watching or not, and he doesn't care if you skip a week to golf. The whole church in your pajamas thing is appealing to people who are already quite content, giving God their absolutely worst. Dressing up is for Tinder hookups, apparently, not for church. So I guess you got to dress up for church, or I don't know. Okay. The lady on the other end of Furtick's prayer and donation hotline isn't going to rebuke you for those Tinder hookups anyhow. Now, again, they're using some strong language, right? And I agree that there is maybe a tendency that with all the churches online, that there's this idea I can stay at home and do church. Maybe there's a tendency, but people have been leaving churches forever, whether all this was available or not. There's always those who say, I don't like the corporate church for whatever reason, and they abandon the corporate church to start their own little home church, which then just becomes basically a church. But you've had all of these kinds of issues. I don't know if this, and to be fair, they are acknowledging that some of these are issues. They keep going after Stephen Furtick. And I agree that if you're doing church at home, yeah, you can kind of just do church anyway your way. But people already kind of do church anyway their way. They just pick the church that is their way. And if the church stops being their way, they leave and go to another church. So that's already happening. So I don't know. I'm just trying to understand the concern currently, but all right. They go on. We Orthodox type pastors have been busy pleading with people for years that watching church services online is not the same as actual church. All right. Now, so that's good that they've been warning people for years. They're acknowledging this is an ongoing problem. They acknowledge it's an ongoing problem. Maybe what their concern is that many churches who've never live streamed are going to live stream now. But I would still state, even if you don't live stream, if your sermon is available 1 hour, 2 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours after the church service, aren't you still creating the same thing? Hey, I don't live stream. We don't live stream. We're godly. We don't live stream because church has to be done in person. But please download our sermons that are available on this app and this app and this app and this app. And here's our RSS feed. Isn't that the same thing? Isn't that the same? I don't get it. I don't get it. And they say here are some of the arguments, against trying to convince people that online services is not church. Here's what they say. Number one, a church is an ecclesia, and an ecclesia is an assembly. Staying in your home is not assembling. Well, I would agree that we need to assemble in person. Now, isn't it an assembly or not? If all the church is listening and I'm speaking to them, is that all right. Number two, you can't, or at least shouldn't be observing the ordinances, communion and baptism by yourself. These are ordinances given to the church, not to individuals. And by the way, if these things can't be observed, you don't have a church at all. Now, amen. The ordinances should not be practiced outside of the church. It should be the church. There shouldn't be this personal communion time, Lord's Supper time, and you have your Lord's Supper on your own. No, it's a church ordinance. I agree there. But that stuff was going on, people having their own private Lord's Supper communion. I saw articles in Christian magazines back in the 1990s telling you how to have your own private communion service with God. That was in the 1990s, way before the internet was even, a major concern. So again, these things have been happening for a long time. The power of the preached word is somehow special in the assembly. It is more effectual than that which you see on screen. And no, we can't explain that, but we believe it's supernatural. So they believe it's supernatural that if you're here in this building right now and I was preaching, it has more of an effect. If you listen to me at home, it doesn't have the same effect because when it's preached here, there's something supernatural that takes place. Whoa, is that an extra biblical claim? Can you even support that with scripture? Does God only bless the preaching of his word when you hear it in person, but he can't bless the preaching of his word that you hear via a podcast, via a download, via live stream? That seems weird. Does the power come from the fact that it's the inspired word of God being preached and taught, or does the power come from the geographical location in which you hear it preached or taught? And don't we have enough examples of people who attend church week after week after week, and then we look at their lifestyles and they're no more godly? So I've preached plenty of sermons in person, and that those sermons are not remembered by the time we return for Sunday evening service. So where was the supernatural effect? That's some serious claims right there. But I want you to at least consider it. Lord's Day worship is corporate in nature. Everyone engaging in private worship at the same time is still not corporate worship. It's just time-coordinated individual worship. All right, I'm not going to argue with that. These are all good and true arguments, but here's the thing. These rules don't change because of a pandemic. I agree, rules shouldn't change in order of a pandemic, but sometimes situations happen where you have to at least try to figure out what to do. And then here's the end of the article. Watching the computer at the same time in individual homes doesn't magically become an assembly just because coronavirus exists. A contagious virus doesn't somehow make a Bible study with no right to observe the ordinances into a church. If we are serious about what is and what is not the church, then we have to admit that logically, coronavirus doesn't change any of that. Please be careful about how you advertise your live stream church substitute. Keep in mind that however you advertise your live stream will be used as a reason to stay home from church after the coronavirus threat is over. After all, if watching the live stream in your PJs is church during coronavirus, it will be church after coronavirus. And they probably won't be watching your live stream by the time it's over. They'll be watching verdicts. Now they end with Furtick, so sometimes I don't know if that article is about church or about Stephen Furtick, but okay. Here's what I will say, and I'll end with this because I have gone, how long have I been on the air now? 46 minutes. But I'm just trying to work through all of these issues, and I told you from the beginning that this wasn't all going to be polished and put together. I'm just trying to think out loud about these things as pastors all around the country are doing the same thing. Here's what I would say. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. There is an inherent danger with what is happening right now. People get out of the habit of going to church, then that it becomes the habit to not go. And so they will find a reason not to go. Well, time change, it gets dark on Wednesdays, and I don't want to drive in the dark. Hey, my kids have school tomorrow, and by the time Wednesday night service is over, it's too late for them to go to bed. You can just start naming the excuses. You can probably throw in all the others. Well, I was tired, and so I thought I needed to stay home and rest. Who knows? You just name the reason. People have a reason, they always state the reason very like when you're a pastor, it's always frustrating when they tell you because I never ask the reason. I don't even want to know the reason. I don't even care. I got la, 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 la. I don't want to know the reason. But they always state, they'll tell you, I'm not coming to church and here is the reason. And they state the reason almost like you're supposed to respond with, well, that makes sense. That's a good reason. And in many cases, it's not a good reason. It's not justifiable. And as a pastor, you want to say, well, that's not a good reason. But then you have to show grace and mercy and you got to choose your battles carefully or you'll be fighting everyone every time you find out they're not coming to church. So I agree that there is a problem of people already not coming to church. And I agree that they will find every reason. But the main issue is they'll get out of the practice. If this goes on for a month, people will get out of the habit of going. And once they get out of the habit of going, they'll find a reason not to go and then feel like the reason is justified. Now, they are concerned that what they will say is, well, you're live streaming, and if live streaming was church during the coronavirus, then live streaming is the church after coronavirus, so I don't have to go. Look, I think people are going to find a reason, and maybe this gives them another reason. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if calling it, I don't know, even if you don't, listen, here's the thing, and I think this is very important to understand. Even if you don't call it church, you don't use that term. If the people know the sermon is live online, they'll say, I can, or even if it's not live online, if they know that they can listen to the sermon Sunday afternoon, then they'll just sleep in to listen to it Sunday afternoon. Even if you don't call it church, if the teaching is available, then they'll just stay at home. I mean, I don't understand how the live streaming thing is the problem. All these ministries that he named, all of them post their sermons online. John MacArthur and Alistair Begg is on the radio 5 days a week, 7 days a week, probably in some places. They have internet ministries. So I don't get it. So I'm going to just state it again. There is a danger here. There is a danger. And I am concerned, as I think every pastor is concerned. What is the church going to look like after this is over? Is church attendance going to drop? I don't think it has anything to do with live streaming. I think it's the fact that we are canceling services. But listen, even if we didn't cancel services, here's the thing. Even if we didn't cancel services, you're telling me that right now during the middle of a global pandemic, right, when you've got states and countries telling many of their citizens to not leave their house, even if I was to have church tomorrow, do you think that would not give people sufficient grounds to not come? And therefore, they would still get out of the habit by not coming, even if we had a church service. I think the danger is, how are people going to, their perception of church attendance after being out for, say, a month? Where their view change? I think this is going to require pastors to really emphasize the importance of the local body, the importance of the local church, the importance of meeting together. I think that's going to be very important. I think it's going to be very important. So I think there's a danger, and I do agree that I think, and I've already said, I think what's going to happen, people will tune in live. They'll tune in live for the first 2 times because it's going to be a novelty, and then they're going to get tired of it, and they're like, whatever. I'm already trying something that's absolutely insane. Most churches are just, they're going to have one live stream on a Sunday. That's it. I'm going to live stream Sunday school, Sunday morning, and Sunday night. The chances my people tune in for all 3 hours, I'm not even hopeful. Okay. I'm not even hopeful. I bet you, I don't even want to see I don't even want to look at the numbers. I'm going to contact all the services and say, please disable all statistics and analytics, because if I see the numbers, I'm going to probably lay on the floor in the fetal position and cry like a baby. I'm even questioning, that. But what do? Do I not live stream? I saw some different churches saying they're not going to live stream because they don't want their. But some of those churches still post their sermons online, so I still don't even understand. That logic is so broken. But we're not going to live stream because we don't want people to think it's church. So your people just sit at home. And so what they're going to do is they're going to send materials to all the members' homes to tell them how to do family worship. Now, when I read the announcement from one of the churches that are doing that, the implication is that they truly believe that all the families are going to get together and do family worship. I'm like, whatever. Okay, maybe I don't believe that's going to happen under any circumstance. And even if it does, they're going to meet for family worship for what? 1 hour, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and be done? And then, so what about the rest of the Lord's Day? I don't know. I just think we're finding, here's what I think. I think Christians are going to find every reason to criticize every decision. Hey, you're live streaming. Wait, you called it a church. How dare you? You're destroying the church. Okay. I'm sorry. I won't call it church. We're just going to live stream the sermon. Wait, you're not live streaming the music? Wait, what are you doing? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We'll live stream music and the sermon. Okay, that's better. Wait. You canceled services to live stream? You ungodly compromiser. You are compromising with the government. You're caving. You're serving man over God. You fear man over God. You should be okay. We'll have church. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll have church. Wait, you're having church? You don't care about people and you're killing people. Okay. Well, then I'm retiring. I'm going to quit. That's literally where you are right now. Now, there can be disagreement. And there needs to be some disagreement. Make it very clear, there needs to be some disagreement because churches need to be challenged on what to do. I'm already perplexed that churches are going to reduce the amount of teaching given on a Sunday because of the coronavirus. When they have the technology not to reduce it, they have literally the technology to increase it. I don't know if calling it church is a bad thing. I don't know if calling it church is a good thing. I don't know if doing it is a good thing. I don't know if doing it is a bad thing. Here's what I will end with. To the church member, please, 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 I beg you, understand that this is not an easy time for your elders and your pastors. They don't know what to do. They're struggling with it. It's going to be depressing. It's going to be discouraging. Please be encouraging. Please be encouraging. Please. And you say, how can I be encouraging? Actually listen. Actually send a message, an email, something. Ask questions. Give a suggestion on what to teach. Participate. Please participate. Do everything you can to encourage feedback. It's going to be depressing for many pastors. They're going to feel like, wait, what am I doing? Please. And they're going to be scared. Many are scared that people aren't going to come back. That's why these kinds of articles are being written. Be encouraging. Assurance. Watch out for the spiritual danger in your life. But please understand that this is going to be a difficult time, and no decision. Listen, every decision it can be criticized, no matter what you do. Every decision can be, and sometimes rightly so, it can be criticized. There's no question. Some of it can be rightly criticized. For me, I have no understanding why they're going to reduce their teaching to one message. I do not understand that. That makes no sense to me. Makes no sense. You got millions of people literally isolated in their homes and they're not supposed to go anywhere. And so the church is going to say, okay, we're going to reduce our teaching. You increase your Netflix viewing. What? No. And then you've got some online ministries like Ligonier who makes you pay for a lot of stuff. Well, till June, they're like, hey, you can listen to everything we have for free. Well, why should Ligonier be having all the church members listen to them? Why the individual church saying, hey, church members, I will give you all the teaching you need and more. Why shouldn't the church be giving the church members that? Why do we always have to rely on some parachurch ministry to feed the flock? It's the church's job to feed the flock. I think some things can be rightly criticized. They are right. They can rightly criticize some that there is a problem in the modern church of that the visible church is becoming invisible as more and more people adapt the practice of not coming to church. They are right, and they criticize that. They are absolutely right that many people will tune in to people like Stephen Furtick and other ministries. But the reason many of them will do that is maybe they have it set up where it's easy to access their messages. I bet you Stephen Furtick, I bet you can live stream Stephen Furtick on every mobile device under the sun, probably from your television. They probably got 50 different ways you can do so. Where a little small church, people are going to be like, I don't even know how to tune in. Many are going to tune in. I've seen many churches, the only place they're doing so is on Facebook Live. Well, what if you don't have Facebook? Right? Or YouTube. Well, why place it? Why not put it in a situation where it's as easy as possible for do so? Now, I guess YouTube is pretty universal, so I guess that's pretty easy. There is a YouTube app. I'm not a YouTube app person, so anytime I ever go to YouTube, I go to the webpage. So I don't have the YouTube app, and probably that's I'm out of date and that perspective. I've never been a big YouTube person, but the point is try to make it easy. Make it easy where you can get the live stream. You got to think about that. Some of these churches, they were making it so simple. Now, some small churches, we don't have the ability to make it that simple. I mean, I've tried to make it as simple as possible by letting everyone know all you have to do is download the Spreaker app. You can listen to us live on our webpage. You can listen to us live via the Spreaker app. And then all of our messages are immediately made available on every podcasting app on the earth, right? And they're even available on YouTube the second I'm done preaching. So we're trying to, and available on SoundCloud. So even as a small church in the middle of nowhere, Texas, we have tried to make it as easy as possible. We have tried to make it as easy as possible. So I don't know. There's a lot of questions here. And I said I was going to end with that. I've got to throw this in. Please, church members, this is not the time to argue and fight and badmouth your church and criticize. This is where you can encourage. Yes, if your church is not doing enough, to just encourage them to do more. If you have a specific thing you think they should be doing, don't put them on full blast on social media. Contact them and say, hey, can't we do a little bit more? Can't you do this? I mean, one sermon a week? If this goes on for 2 months, my family's going to get one sermon a week? No, you're the pastor. You're supposed to be feeding us. Your responsibility to feed doesn't stop because of a pandemic. Now, I agree with how they stated that. These rules don't change. I agree with that. So there's a lot of things they said there that I do agree with. I'm just sitting there thinking of all the different ways churches have done this kind of thing since before the internet. Before television, there were churches broadcasting their services on radio. We could go literally from the invention of radio. There were ministries broadcasting their services via radio. Then television came along, broadcasting their services on television. There's always been broadcast of live church services. It's always been that way. It's since the invention of modern technology. I just now thought about it. There were some famous ministries who broadcasted their messages on radio back before television was even on the air. So I don't. And they would say, join us for our live church service on the radio. That's how it was that's how it was advertised. Now maybe the problem started all the way back then, but back then church attendance was high. Church attendance was good. I think there's far more going on with church attendance than the fact that sermons are. Here's what I think. I think people who don't show up to church, I think a large number of them aren't even interested in listening to the sermons online. I think it's a spiritual problem. I don't think it's a technology problem. They don't show up to church because they don't want to hear the word of God preached. Now, if they're sick, obviously, then it change. I'm talking about people who I'm not going to come to that. I'm not going to come to Wednesday night service. I'm not going to come to. Well, you watch. Because you're sitting at home every Wednesday not coming to church, if you're not coming to church, you're going to just start using Wednesday. Look, I saw this when I was a Lutheran. I was in a Baptist church, Sunday school, Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday. Boom. Went to a Lutheran church. Whoa, what just happened? Sunday morning and that's it? That's it? Okay, well, guess what? I thought, okay, Sunday morning, I'll go. Sunday night, I'll do. Now, I started calling every Lutheran church and driving distance, begging them to do something on Sunday nights. I was a teenager at the time, and I was pleading for something because I'm like, I'm going to starve to death spiritually. But guess what happened over time? It's Sunday night. I was going to the movies, going doing whatever I wanted to do. I stopped worrying about trying to find something to listen to do so. I just kind of started using Sunday night for me. And people who stop coming to church, they're not sitting at home going, okay, I'm not going to church, but I'm going to listen to all the sermons. No, they'll just they'll just stop. Listen, it's a spiritual problem. I don't think it's a technology problem. I don't. I went an hour to kind of reach that conclusion. The more I think about this, people are not saying, I'm going to stay at home because, if live streaming church is church during the coronavirus, it's going to be live stream. It's going to be church after. You watch. They're not going to be listening. They're not going to be, no, they're going to just start using that time for something far more exciting than listening to a sermon. Because preachers, whether we like it or not, the average person doesn't think listening to preaching is that exciting. That's why more and more modern day preachers try to turn their sermons into a 3-ring circus to try to make it more exciting. Because we all know the average person doesn't. It's a spiritual exercise. And if you're sitting at home, are you going to engage in a spiritual exercise or engage in doing something you want to do? So I don't know. All right, there you have it. There's some thoughts on this entire crazy world. There's probably some points I missed. There's probably some points I didn't articulate clearly. Let's not fight about it. Just struggle with me. And we all have to think about it and do our best to try to make this work. Wherever you are, however your church is doing things, let's work together to try to make this work out the best that we can. Encourage the church to feed the flock. Do that. And then participate. And remember, encourage that pastor, because I guarantee you he's going to be depressed and discouraged, or at least many will be. All right, everyone have a great Saturday. Be safe, take precautions, and let's pray that this all can end soon and we can get back to, well, doing church the way it was supposed to be. And I do agree it's supposed to be in person. God bless.